The overview of the Rapid City, South Dakota Mission, it covers 5 states. Now covers 4 because the Omaha, Nebraska has taken Nebraska. And so the remaining parts of the mission is 1/3 Minnesota, the western part, and then the 1/3 of Wyoming that just goes to Casper, and then all of North and South Dakota. Uh, and I believe it still has one little bit of Canada in there, but no one travels over the border. So there's not a lot of people there because it's not populated as much. So there's a big open square feet, and you can fit New York City and Chicago 10 times in those 2 states alone in North and South Dakota. Which I thought was a pretty interesting fact when I got there. I'm like, and I believe it. It's nothing but fields of wheat, corn, whatever. It's really awesome. It's beautiful. South Dakota is known as the President State because you got Mount Rushmore, Crazy Horse, and then you have Sturgis, which is the big bike rally they have. And the history there of Custard State Park, named after General Custer, which is really cool. I really enjoy the wildlife there. It's like Yellowstone National Park. You got all these beautiful parks there. And the history of the people, the museums and things like that, it sort of based on Lewis and Clark as they were coming through there. The Pony Express and all that was through there. They have the Black Hills, so Black Hills gold is still really big there, and so the miners mine the black gold, and that's how they make their money and things like that back in the late 50s, 60s, and on in history. And it's a tribute to the presidents of the United States, from Abraham Lincoln's face, George Washington's face, and on Mount Rushmore. And so I thought that was really interesting and a lot of fun to see. I lived on an Indian reservation for about 3 months, and so for a transfer. And probably the most interesting food that I had, even here in the United States, it was cat. I'm like, okay, it's Indian reservation. I'm like, they eat it, anything and everything. Anything that has 4 legs, they will kill and they will eat it, especially in the winter time because it gets super, super cold. And everything's dead by then. It gets down to negatives, 50s, plus 20 mile per hour wind, so it gets down to negative 70 at times. It gets pretty cold there. So yeah, that's probably the most interesting thing that I have eaten. Is I'm still in the United States, but I'm like, okay, eating cat. It's like awesome. Another one that I had was called quail soup. It was really interesting. It was a bird, but it was like a duck meat. It was really tender, really really good though. I really enjoyed it because it had mixed vegetables, potatoes, carrots, onions. So like a stew like we would have here. And that's one of their main dishes is quail stew. in my mission. It was really, really good. So, as a missionary, spaghetti is obviously the number one for every family because it's quick and easy. But no, I had mostly casseroles or potatoes, corn, a lot of corn. I had a lot of corn and wheat kind of meals. Very simple, very fun. Sometimes the members, they just take us out. Most of the time, they'd just take the missionaries out because they knew how tight our budget was, and they loved helping the missionaries. And so it was a great, great experience for that. And yeah, just going over to members' houses and being fed. There's no harm in that. We always love food, so never go hungry.
Cool.
So those were pretty much the main dishes, was casseroles and spaghetti. And so I remember one family, they're like, oh, you guys are sick of casseroles and sick of spaghetti, so we're having a different meal tonight. And I'm like, okay, what are we having? You know, he's like, we're going to have buffalo burgers and chips and all these different interesting meals. He's like, no, I didn't feed you buffalo. I fed you skunk. I'm like, skunk? I'm like, oh man, that's great. Like, you know, that's not bad. I'm like, okay, that was great. Like, never had skunk before. Loved it.